I made a video about the second day, which was in Luxor, but I forgot to tell y'all about when we got there and getting into the hotel. Okay, so when we got there, we flew in. We got there around 8 o'clock p.m. We went outside and got a taxi. The taxi cab driver, I can't remember his name, but I'll post it. I'll give you all his contact information. He was phenomenal. He got us to our hotel, and he also helped us on that little trip back. I don't know if I even included that part, but I'll record that part later. But anyway, so we get to the hotel. The hotel was it was in a, well, what I consider an alley. We had to pass through some donkeys and some dogs and some other animals. I guess there was some kind of breeding or grooming place back there for horses or something. Anyway, it was on the West Bank. We didn't know the difference between the West Bank and the East Bank, but we know now. And next time we'll stay on the East Bank. But it was on the West Bank. The room, we originally were supposed to get 2 twin-size beds. And it was $47 for 3 days, 4 days. When we got there, obviously we were the only ones no, we wasn't the only ones in the hotel, because there was some people upstairs. But the owner decided to give us the whole floor, the whole second floor, which was like an apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment at that. One room had a king size bed. One room had 2 twin size beds. It had a kitchen, basically a living room and a dining room. This was the KR Hotel. When we got there, found out that the hotel's name was something else. It started with a K. I think it was Kareem or something, but it was like a restaurant. It was, when you got to the hotel, if you turned the corner, there was a Cleopatra Hotel across from it, like down and across. But in any case, we was living like the locals. But that was the beginning of Luxor. So let me be clear. That was the beginning of Luxor. Now, I'm going to add what happened on the first day. Well, the next day after we woke up. Because this is on the 26th, the same day we were in Cairo and went to the pyramids and all of that. That night we flew into Luxor, and this is part of that day. So the next day, which would be the 27th, that's what I'm adding next. Welcome to World Views and Wanderlust. Today I'm going to talk about the second day of our Egypt trip, which was Luxor. It started off with hot air balloon ride over Luxor, and then it ended with a tour of Luxor, the temples in Luxor, starting with the Valley of the Kings, Temple of Hatshepsut, however you say it, whatever. And then we went to the Temple of Karnak, and then we ended the tour with the Temple of Luxor. So I will first talk about the hot air balloon. We went through Get Your Guide instead of Viator, which is different for me. But they came to pick us up about 4:30 in the morning. Um, Somebody showed up, and in the hotel that we were staying in, just a car moving at that time of day, we just assumed that was the right car. There was a lot of WhatsApp communication and back and forth, and they said, well, our driver's name was going to be whatever, and then this person showed up. He couldn't speak a lick of English. All we could hear was, he said hot air balloon backwards, like air balloon, something like that. So we just got in the car. And before y'all start going anywhere, trust and believe we can hold our own when it comes to defending ourselves. So we're not worried about just jumping into anybody's car. Then they took us to, it was a van, so they took us to this port, this docking port where the boats was coming in from the east bank of Luxor. We was staying on the west bank, and they took us to the bank where the boats was coming in and other people were that were going to the hot air balloons were getting in vans. It was about, I want to say 25 vans out there. Each van had like 12 people in it, 8 to 12 people. So then we went to, the guy opened the door, the sliding door, and he left. And probably about a good 30 minutes into it, the other vans start taking off. I mean, all of them. And we were the only one left. Then, of course, you had some kids trying to sell us some stuff, some little coin purse bags. And I kept telling them, no, I don't need any coin purse bags. So I'm like, no, you know, it's one thing when they are begging for money. It's another thing when they're selling stuff. But when it's so overwhelming, you start to get angry. I mean, we supported, a good $200 worth of all of this begging, and then it got to the point to where we just want to enjoy our vacation and we don't want to be bothered. So when they beg, it's like they stick around like flies on food. They don't leave you alone. They just keep harassing you. They just stood there at the door. It was just one at first, but then his little partner came up. He trying to sell some bags too, same kind of bags. And they just stand there. When you say no, they just stand there and they try and negotiate. And they go down, and then they go back up, and then they go down, and you just keep saying no. And then some adult will come by and then tell them, okay, go ahead and leave them alone. So you know that adult is the one who's sending them over there to sell these bags or whatever. The kids are probably not getting any money at all, but they're trying to get on your sympathy side and get you to buy this stuff. But then they got to turn in the money to some adult. So, like I said, don't fall for the tricks. I say no. If I was to recommend anybody going, I would just say no to everybody. I mean, it sounds mean, it sounds cruel, but until you've done this and been there and understand what I'm saying, then you don't understand how annoying this can get. But anyway, the sun started coming up and we still hadn't left for the air balloon. So I'm text messaging WhatsApp the dude to say, hey, where is, why haven't we left yet? So finally somebody walks over to the van and he says, we can't do the hot air balloon because the wind is going towards the east, and they can't sail, I should say, over the east bank of Luxor. Now, I'm under the impression that we're going to be flying over all of Luxor, but technically the air balloon ride was only for the West Bank, which is where the Valley of the Kings are. So that's what that was about. Anyway, he said we're waiting on the police to give us the green light on whether or not we can fly over Luxor. So we waited, and then about, I want to say about 7 o'clock in the morning, they gave us the green light, and then the van took off. There was some French people that didn't have a van that just pulled up on the dock, so they got in our van, and we all got on the same hot air balloon or whatever. But when it was over, they took us, well, before I get to the it was over part, we got to the hot air balloon, we went up, our balloon kept going up and down, up and down. It never really left that little area where the balloon landing site, the takeoff sites was. It just kept going up and down. We never really sailed off like the rest of the balloons. We stayed in the same area. I didn't pay attention to that, but Sam noticed it. So he was hot. We went pretty high up, but still, we stayed in that same area. Every now and again it'll spin around, because on the side that we were on, we couldn't even see the Valley of the Kings, but every now and again it would turn and we would get to see the Valley of the Kings. I think it did it twice, so I got footage of the Valley of the Kings, but like I said, that wasn't the side of the balloon that we were on. But in any case, when we came down, a guy was there doing videotape before we left, and he was there when we came down, and he was asked us, did anybody want footage of the air balloon, that he took video of. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it was like $25, American dollars, $25. So I gave him $5 bills. So they rushed us into a van. The van took us to the Coliseum, Colossal Memnon. And across the street from there was like a couple of restaurants and some shops. So we went to the restaurant, looked at the menu. We ordered hot dogs and hamburgers. And so then this guy comes in, and he's like, I'm your tour guide. Y'all ready to go? Our food hadn't came yet. So he was like, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. I'm like, 5 minutes? But okay. So the hot dogs and everything came, and we ate that, and then we went on ahead and joined him. We get in the van with him. Then there's another set of people that's sitting in the back of the van. They're French. So they had a tour guide that was just speaking French to them. And then we were sitting in the front of the van, more, the first bench in the back. And our tour guide sat in the passenger seat in the front, and he explained the tour from the passenger seat. They both were doing most of the explaining before we got to places. So the first stop was the Valley of the Kings. So he explained that, there's a certain amount of, I think like 62 tombs in there, and that's all they found so far, but they're still searching. And then he gave us the whole little history of Tutankhamun, and the reason why he's so popular is because, it wasn't that he did anything, it's that he was there was a lot of tombs that were raided and over the years, and his tomb was the only one that was perfectly intact and hadn't been touched. And technically, it was a little boy who uh, discovered it and then went back and told the person that they claimed discovered it. And they gave him a necklace from the tomb, but because the tomb was so perfectly intact, they took a picture of him with the necklace on and then took the necklace back. And just lets you know how some folks are. But any case, um, anyway, um, I'm gonna end this video here because the background is just too loud. Okay, another day, another dollar spent. Anyway, back to the video. I'm home now. So anyway, so when we got to the Valley of the Kings, they told us that we were only going to be able to see 3 tombs out of like 64 tombs. But they didn't let us pick which tombs we wanted to see. So we went into like some tombs that me personally, I'm like, I don't know who that is. Ramsey the 7th or some stuff, you know. It wasn't Tut's tomb. But Tut's tomb was, Tutankhamun, his tomb was extra anyway. And from everybody that I talked to, get out of my ear. From everybody that I talked to, they all said it wasn't worth going in anyway. So, anyway, look at the camera. Look at the camera. This is security, y'all. This is my Doberman. Anyway, so, they, after we left there, we went to Hatshepsut, Queen Hatshepsut, her little tomb area, which was way nicer than the other tombs. And so, anyway, all of these sites, tombs, and visitors places all have these areas of vendors, I should call them, that's pushing their stuff. So they haggle you when you're going in, they haggle you when you're going out, and they make it to where you can't go in or out without going through the little area. So that I just want to say off the bat. So every place that we went to had a group of hagglers, vendors that was pushing their stuff. And they come at you, hey, brown sugar, you know, where you from? Where you from? You say you from America. Oh, Alaska? Texas, you know, and they try and get you by any means necessary. I had a lot of, well, I should say Sam had a lot of people coming up to him talking about, hey bro, we the same color. We're kin, we're the same color. Hey cousin, you know, whatever methods that they use. Come see my shop, come see my shop. And 9 times out of 10, when they say come see my shop, you gotta walk. They way away from their shop. But in any case, and then after Queen Hatshepsut's tomb, we left. The French people went to lunch and took some kind of cruise to some kind of island, and then they tried to sell it to us. And I'm like, well, why didn't y'all say that in the giddy up? I wasn't planning on doing that. So no, I don't want to do that. And my feet is starting to hurt. My back is starting to hurt. I'm getting tired. You know, I've been up since 4:30 that morning, and we've been walking and walking and walking and walking. I'm tired. So at this point, I'm like, I'll sit in the car and wait the 2 hours for them to finish before I go with them, because that's going to be more walking. So I didn't want to do that. So anyway, so since all of the French people left and we were the only 2 English people in the car, they decided to go ahead and let the French people go ahead and take their little cruise and their little lunch and they all that little crap. And then they decided, since it was just us 4, the driver, the tour guide, and us 2, they went on ahead and took us to the Temple of Karnak. Temple of Karnak. Again, you gotta go, well, they're on the inside of the temple instead of being on the outside. But they did have some on the outside too. You had to go through a lane of vendors on the outside to get out of the Temple of Karnak. But we spent about, I want to say an hour and a half in the Temple of Karnak. And we took a lot of good pictures and videos. And then after we left there, we only had one place to go, and that was the Temple of Luxor. At this point, my feet are burning. I am tired. My back is hurting. I am just done. So he said there was some more stuff that was supposed to be on the tour besides the Temple of Luxor, but I was like, well, let's go do the Temple of Luxor, and I'm done at that point. So by the time we got back to the hotel, it was, I want to say around 7 p.m. So I was like, we might as well just, eat something and call it for the night, because the next morning we were getting a private driver to take us to Aswan and Abu Simbel, and that was going to start at 4:30 as well. So I will explain day 3 in just a second.
Girl, just take your picture. One minute, madam. Sorry. You got one of these in every crazy how they can set.
Here at the mosque for Muslim people now, number of his self, grandfather of King Tutankhamun, Luxor temple. Here especially get out, well, from here, the old gate.